For 300 years, Earth had been alone. Not the kind of alone that comes from being the only life in the universe, but the worst kind. The kind where you know others exist, but they refuse to talk to you. Commander Jake Morrison stood at the window of the space station called Watchtower 7. He looked out at the stars like he did every day. Somewhere out there, alien ships moved through space, traveling their routes and living their lives. They passed through human territory as if humans did not exist. Jake was born after the silence began. So were his parents. His grandparents had been young children when the aliens first made contact. That contact had been simple and cold. A message appeared on every screen across Earth one day. It said only this: remain in your system. You are not ready. Then nothing else came. No explanation. No follow-up. Just silence. Earth had obeyed. What choice did they have? The aliens had technology humans could barely understand. They traveled faster than light between stars, while humans were still struggling to build colonies on Mars. So humanity stayed home and built what they could within their own solar system, and they built well. 300 years was a long time. Earth had grown into a world of massive cities connected by space elevators. Mars was now green and blue, its cities home to billions of people. The asteroid belt buzzed with mining stations and factories. Even the moons of Jupiter had human colonies pushing the limits of engineering and survival. But the cage was still there, invisible but real. The aliens had drawn a line around the solar system and told humanity not to cross it. And every generation that grew up behind that line grew more angry about it. Lieutenant Amy Wells walked up beside Jake. She was young, only 25, but already one of the best officers on the station. "Another ship just passed the outer markers," she said. Her voice carried the usual mix of curiosity and frustration that all humans felt these days. "Heading toward Proxima. That makes 5 this month," Jake nodded. The alien ships came and went, using routes that passed right through human space. They never stopped. Never said hello. Never even acknowledged that humans existed. To them, humanity was nothing. Less than nothing. "Did they answer our hails?" Jake asked, though he already knew. "No, sir. Same as always," Jake sighed. His job was to watch these ships pass by and document them. Every month he wrote reports about alien traffic through the solar system. Every month those reports went to Earth Command. And every month, nothing changed. On Earth below, politicians made careers out of promising to break the isolation. Scientists worked on new technologies, hoping to prove humanity was advanced enough to matter. And the military, Jake's world, trained for a war that might never come. Meanwhile, in a place called the Council Chambers, thousands of light years away, humanity was not even worth discussing. The Galactic Council governed 800 different alien species. They managed trade disputes, regulated laws, and kept peace across the galaxy. Earth was just entry number 3827H in their database. A quarantine system with primitive life. Nothing special until one day when a council member named Senator Kilos brought up a proposal. Kilos was tall and made of living crystal that reflected light in strange ways. His species had been part of the council for 2,000 years. He knew how things worked. "The Voran expansion needs resources," Kilos said to the council. "System 3827H has valuable minerals in its outer belt. The locals are primitive. They live on the inner planets. Under our laws, we can use the uninhabited areas for mining," the council voted. Every member agreed. Why would they not? To them, the asteroid belt was just empty space full of rocks. They had no idea that 3 million humans called those rocks home. The mining fleet arrived at Ceres Station 2 weeks later. Administrator Greg Palmer was reading production reports when it happened. Ceres was home to 15,000 people, with another 100,000 scattered across other belt stations. Life there was quiet, far from Earth's politics and Mars's crowds. People liked it that way. "Sir, we have unknown contacts," his operations officer Casey Moore said suddenly. "Multiple ships just appeared. Big ones. They are not broadcasting any identification codes." Greg moved to the main display. His mouth went dry. Dozens of massive ships hung in space around Ceres and the other major stations. Each ship was the size of a small city. They were beautiful in a way, sleek, and covered in materials that seemed to shift and glow. Nothing humanity had built looked like them. Try to contact them, Greg ordered. All frequencies. Find out who they are and what they want. The answer came fast. A cold, mechanical voice spoke through the translation system. This system is designated for resource extraction under Galactic Council authority. Evacuate all structures within 72 standard hours. Noncompliance will result in forced removal. Greg stared at the message. He read it again. Then a third time. 300 years. 300 years of silence, of messages sent and ignored, of humanity staying in its corner of space like they were told. And this was first contact. Not a greeting. Not a hello, we see you now. It's just an order to leave their homes. The people of Ceres Station had spent 50 years building their home. Some had been born there. Children played in corridors their parents had welded together. Gardens grew food under artificial lights installed by grandparents. It was not just a station. It was their world. Get me Earth Command, Greg said quietly. His hands were shaking, but his voice stayed calm. Get me, everyone. Mars, Luna, Jupiter colonies, all of them. What should I tell them? Casey asked. Tell them the Council just made the biggest mistake of their lives, Greg said. Tell them the aliens finally noticed us. And tell them we are not leaving. The message went out across the solar system. Within hours, every human settlement received the news. The asteroid belt, home to 3 million people, was being taken by aliens who did not care enough to check if anyone lived there. Earth's government called an emergency meeting. Military commanders activated defense plans that had been sitting in computers for decades. Scientists checked weapon systems that had never been tested in real combat. And ordinary people, from Earth to the furthest outpost on Jupiter's moon Ganymede, felt something they had not felt in a long time. They felt angry. 300 years of being ignored was bad enough. But this was too much. The Council had made their fatal mistake. They assumed humanity would run away. They thought humans were too primitive to matter, too weak to fight back. They were about to learn that 300 years of isolation had not made humanity weak. It had made them ready. In the asteroid belt, miners became soldiers. Factory workers became weapons operators. Children were evacuated on civilian ships while their parents stayed behind to defend their homes. And across the solar system, Earth's military began to move. The Council had 72 hours to learn what humanity had become during their long silence. It would not be enough time. The emergency meeting of Earth's united government happened fast. Within hours of Ceres Station's distress call, representatives from every nation and colony filled the chamber. Some appeared in person. Others joined through hologram screens from Mars, Luna, and the outer settlements. President Linda Hayes stood at the center, her face calm but her eyes showing the anger everyone felt. They gave us 3 days, Greg Palmer's hologram said from Ceres. 3 days to abandon homes we spent 50 years building. They are treating us like animals in their way. Secretary of Defense Raymond Carter leaned forward at his desk. What military assets do we have in the belt? Admiral Chris Bennett, who commanded Earth's solar defense fleet, answered, Just patrol ships. Nothing heavy. We never armed the belt because there was no reason to. The main fleet is here at Earth. It would take weeks to move everything there. Can we even fight them? Someone asked. They have faster-than-light travel. They control the whole galaxy. We are stuck in one solar system. President Hayes raised her hand and everyone went quiet. The question is not if we can win. The question is if we let them treat our people like dirt. 3 million humans live in that belt. They are not leaving their homes. Then we are choosing war with aliens who forgot more than we ever learned, Carter said. No, said Dr. Helen Foster, director of Earth's Advanced Research Division. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. We are choosing to show them what humans learned while they ignored us. She pressed a button, and images filled the screens around the room. Weapon designs, ship blueprints, Technology that made even the military officers lean forward in surprise. "We have been ready for this since the day they told us to stay home," Helen continued. "Every decade we sent them messages. Every time they ignored us, we got angrier. And we got more creative. We knew someday they might notice us. We wanted to be ready." Admiral Bennett smiled slowly. "Show us everything." The briefing took 2 hours. By the end, everyone understood. Earth had not been sitting idle during the isolation. While the Council forgot about humanity, humans had been planning for this exact situation. When the meeting ended, orders went out across the solar system. At Ceres Station, Greg Palmer spoke to his people over the station's communication system. "The Council thinks we will run. They think we are primitives who will scatter when someone stronger arrives. But we built this station bolt by bolt. Some of you were born here. This is your home, and we will be damned if we let aliens from across the galaxy take it because they did not bother checking if anyone lived here." The belt began to move. To the Council's sensors watching from their mining ships, it looked like an evacuation. Civilian vessels left Ceres, Vesta, and Pallas. Heading toward Mars, the mining fleet commanders probably felt satisfied, thinking the primitives were finally obeying, but those civilian ships only carried children, elderly people, and those who could not fight. Everyone else stayed. And across 10,000 asteroids, hidden weapon platforms came online. Mining lasers that could cut through rock became weapons. Factories that refined or started building missiles. The belt's industry had always been dual purpose. The Council just never bothered to notice. Commander Jake Morrison brought his ship,
Battlecruiser Defiant,
through the belt at high speed. Behind him came 30 more warships. Earth's entire solar defense fleet was moving to protect the belt. These ships were not as advanced as Council vessels, but they were built by people who knew they might only get one chance to prove themselves. "Admiral wants you on tactical command," Amy Wells said from her station. "We are the tip of the spear." Jake looked at the display showing the Council fleet. 40 massive mining ships sat around the belt like they owned it. Each ship probably had technology far beyond Earth's best, but they were mining vessels, not warships. And there were only 40 of them, facing thousands of asteroids that had just become weapons. "They think we are not ready," Jake said. "Let's show them what 300 years of being ignored looks like." The 72 hours expired. The Council fleet moved toward Ceres Station to begin forced evacuation. Their captains were annoyed but not worried. They had dealt with primitive species before. This would be simple. Then the asteroid belt opened fire. Railguns, perfected over 3 centuries of human engineering, launched projectiles at incredible speeds. These were not fancy energy weapons or exotic technology, just chunks of metal moving so fast they hit like nuclear bombs. Missile swarms filled the space between asteroids, each warhead guided by artificial intelligence designed specifically to fight enemies with better technology. The belt itself became a weapon. Humans had spent decades mining these asteroids. They knew how to move them, how to break them apart, how to aim them. Now asteroids became missiles, accelerated by carefully placed explosives and sent hurtling toward the Council ships. The mining fleet had shields designed to deflect small debris. They were not ready for weapons moving at relativistic speeds. 3 ships disappeared in the first salvo, torn apart by projectiles they never saw coming. 5 more took critical damage as missiles slipped through their defenses. On the bridge of the mining fleet's flagship, Commander Thelos felt something his species had not experienced in 2000 years: fear. His people had been at peace for so long they had forgotten what war felt like. Now he remembered retreat. He ordered his crew. "Send word to the Council. This system is hostile. These are not primitives." But retreating required time. Ships needed to calculate faster than light jumps. During that time, humanity showed the Council exactly what happened when you trapped a creative species in one solar system for 3 centuries and gave them nothing to do but prepare Jake. Morrison commanded the Defiant as it dove through the chaos. His ship was small compared to the alien vessels, but it was fast and deadly. He targeted damaged Council ships, finishing what the asteroids had started. Target locked, Amy reported. Firing main guns. Defiant's weapons were simple. Just very powerful lasers and kinetic weapons, but sometimes simple was enough. Another Council ship died, its hull breaching and spilling atmosphere into space. By the time the surviving Council ships calculated their escape jumps, 23 of their 40 vessels were destroyed or crippled. The belt had taken damage too. Several stations had holes in them. Some people had died when Council ships returned fire in desperation, but Ceres stations still stood. The belt still stood, and humanity had sent a message. The Council ships jumped away to safety, running from a species they had dismissed as not ready for contact. Behind them, the people of the asteroid belt began repairs. They had defended their homes. They had shown the galaxy that humanity would not be pushed around. On Earth, President Hayes addressed the planet. Today, humanity fought back. We did not choose this fight. We tried for 300 years to talk to the Council peacefully. They ignored us until they wanted something we had. Then they tried to take it without even asking if anyone was home. We showed them the price of that arrogance. Now they know we exist. Now they know we matter. And now they know we will defend ourselves. Across the solar system, humans celebrated. But in the quiet moments, military commanders like Jake Morrison and Admiral Bennett knew this was just the beginning. The Council had suffered a defeat. They would not forget it. They would not forgive it. War was coming. Real war, not just a skirmish in an asteroid belt. The Council commanded 800 species and had controlled the galaxy for thousands of years. Earth had just embarrassed them in front of everyone. They will come back, Amy said quietly, as the Defiant took up patrol position around Ceres. I know, Jake replied. But now, they know what they are dealing with. We are not asking for permission anymore. We are demanding respect. In the Council chambers, thousands of light years away, emergency sessions began. The galaxy was about to learn that isolation did not make humanity weak. It made them ready. And being ready changed everything. 1 week after the battle in the asteroid belt, a Council diplomatic ship arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system. It broadcast on all frequencies. We seek dialogue regarding the incident at System 3827H. We have suffered losses and demand explanation. President Hayes held a meeting in the Situation Room beneath Geneva. The mood was tense. Everyone knew this was a critical moment. They want to talk, Admiral Bennett said. That is progress. They want us to apologize, Raymond Carter corrected. They want us to accept punishment for defending our own people. Dr. Helen Foster pulled up intelligence reports on the main screen. Our deep space monitors detected increased Council activity. They are moving military assets toward our region. This diplomatic ship might just be buying them time to prepare a real attack. President Hayes looked around the table at her advisors. What are our options? We cannot win a long war, Carter admitted, but we can make it expensive enough that they decide we are not worth the trouble. The belt proved we are not helpless. Now we need to prove we are not trapped. Want to break the quarantine? Hayes said. It was not a question. I want to give them something bigger to worry about than revenge, Carter replied. He activated a star map showing nearby systems. We have had faster-than-light probe designs ready for a decade. We never used them because the Council told us not to leave our system. But they started this fight when they tried to evict our people. The rules changed. Jake Morrison received his new orders while the Defiant was still on patrol in the belt. He read them 3 times to make sure he understood correctly. I want us to leave the solar system, Amy Wells said, reading over his shoulder. That has been illegal for 300 years. Not anymore, Jake replied. Get the crew ready. We are making history. The Defiant was the first human ship to cross the Council's boundary in 3 centuries. She did it at maximum speed, her experimental faster-than-light drive pushing the limits of physics. Behind her came 12 more ships, each carrying a message. Humanity was done asking permission. Their destination was Proxima Station, a major Council trade hub. It was a city in space, home to millions of aliens. Most of them had never seen a human except maybe an old intelligence. Files about quarantined species. When the human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system, chaos erupted. Ships scattered in all directions. Traffic controllers flooded communication channels with demands for identification. The Council's military garrison began preparing for combat. Jake opened communications on every frequency. He broadcast a message President Hayes had recorded personally. "This is the sovereign nation of Earth. For 300 years we respected your isolation order. We stayed home and asked repeatedly for dialogue. You ignored us. When you finally paid attention to us, it was to take our homes because you did not think we mattered. We defended ourselves. Now we are here to discuss terms. You can choose dialogue, or you can learn what 3 centuries of human military development looks like. We will wait for your response." The Defiant and her escorts held position. Weapons were ready, but not active. Shields were up. They made no aggressive moves, but radiated pure readiness. On Proxima Station, Council representatives scrambled. Their protocols had no procedures for this. The quarantined species had broken containment, crossed light years, and arrived at a major hub demanding recognition. It was unprecedented. Ambassador Tallis, a veteran diplomat, finally responded. "Your presence violates Council law. Return to your system and await judgment." President Hayes's recorded reply played across every channel. "You violated human sovereignty when you tried to seize inhabited territory. We are past worrying about your laws. Here are our terms. Recognize Earth as a sovereign power. Establish formal diplomatic relations. PR. Provide reparations for the assault on our citizens. Refuse, and we stop being polite. You threaten us?" Tallis's translation carried disbelief. "You are one system. We span the galaxy." "You are a bureaucracy that has not fought a real war in 1,000 years, Hayes replied. "We are a species that spent 3 centuries preparing for the day you noticed us. Test us if you want."
Ash.
Council warships arrived, surrounding the human fleet. Jake watched the tactical display fill up with hostile contacts. 47 warships, Amy counted. "We are outnumbered 4-1. "Then we make ourselves too expensive to kill," Jake said calmly. He opened a channel to Admiral Bennett back at Earth. "Admiral, we are in position. The Council has committed significant forces here." "Copy that, Defiant. Proceed with Phase 2. Jake smiled. The Council thought they had trapped his small fleet by surrounding it with superior numbers. They were about to learn that humans were very good at misdirection. Across the galaxy, in 15 different Council systems, automated human probes dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Each broadcasts the same message. This probe carries complete records of human culture, technology, and history. We share this freely with all species. We also share the truth about the Council's attack on our civilians. Judge for yourselves. The probes scattered their data across every communication network they could reach, then self-destructed. Within hours, billions of Council citizens were reading about humanity for the first time. They learned that the Council had tried to forcibly remove millions of humans from their homes without even confirming anyone lived there. Public opinion began to shift. Not everywhere, and not all at once, but enough to matter. Some species remembered their own first contacts, their own struggles. Others simply opposed the heavy-handed approach the Council had taken. Social networks across the galaxy filled with debates about the situation. At Proxima Station, Ambassador Tallis received urgent communications from Council leadership. The political situation was deteriorating. The humans had outmaneuvered them, turning a military standoff into a public relations disaster. Species across the Council were demanding answers about why the mining fleet had not verified. The belt was uninhabited before claiming it. Recall your fleet. Tallis transmitted to Jake. "We will open negotiations." "No," Jake replied. "We negotiate right here, with your weapons pointed at us and ours ready to respond. That way everyone is very motivated to find common ground." For the first time in Council history, they would negotiate with a species that brought guns to the diplomatic table and refused to put them down. Jake kept his fleet in formation, surrounded by superior forces, but broadcasting confidence that came from 300 years of preparation back on Earth. People watched the news feeds with pride and fear. Pride that humanity was finally demanding respect. Fear that the whole situation might explode into war that would destroy everything. But there was also something else. Hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, humanity had played this right. In the asteroid belt, Greg Palmer oversaw repairs to Ceres Station. Work crews fixed hull breaches, while engineers restored damaged systems. Life was slowly returning to normal, though everyone knew normal had changed forever. They had fought the Council and survived. Nothing would ever be the same. "Do you think they will really negotiate?" Casey Moore asked Greg as they inspected a repaired section of hull. "They have to," Greg replied. "We gave them no choice. Either they talk to us as equals, or we keep being a problem they cannot ignore. And we just proved we are very good at being a problem." On Proxima Station, preparations began for negotiations that would change the galaxy. The Council was about to sit down with a species that had forced recognition through military action and political maneuvering. A species that had been dismissed as primitive, but had proven anything but. The humans had stayed silent for 300 years. Then the Council made their fatal mistake. Now humanity would make them listen. And once they started listening, everything would change. The negotiation chamber was a cargo bay on Proxima Station that had been quickly converted for the meeting. The Council had never imagined they would host peace talks with a species they classified as pre-contact. Ambassador Talus sat across from the human delegation, flanked by representatives from 5 major Council species. Each one wanted something different. Some wanted to crush humanity as an example. Others wanted to recognize them and move on. The Council was splitting under pressure it had never faced before. Commander Jake Morrison stood behind the human delegation with his officers. The chief negotiator for humanity was Secretary of State Karen Mills. She had spent 20 years studying council law through their public broadcasts. She had prepared for this moment since she was a student, when the isolation began to feel permanent. "Let's start with the obvious," Karen said. Her voice was calm despite the tension. "Your mining fleet attacked civilian installations in the asteroid belt. 3 million humans live there. You did this without warning and without checking if anyone was home. Under your own laws, specifically Statute 12F, which governs first contact, this constitutes an act of war." Talus's translator made his response sound mechanical. System 3827H was quarantined under developmental protection protocols. Your species was not ready for contact. That quarantine was established 300 years ago, Karen continued. During that time, we sent 17,000 messages requesting dialogue or any form of recognition. We obeyed your isolation order even after we developed faster-than-light capability 2 centuries ago. We respected your rules. You ignored us completely. "The Council has 800 member species," said Representative Kilos, the crystalline being who had proposed the mining operation. "We cannot respond to every communication from developing worlds. Our resources are limited." Karen leaned forward. "Then let me explain something about human civilization. We are not primitives struggling with basic technology. We have a population of 38 billion across our solar system. We have fusion power, quantum computing, artificial intelligence, and faster-than-light travel. We maintained peace across dozens of nations and 3 planets for 3 centuries. The only thing we lacked was your acknowledgement. And when we finally got your attention, you tried to evict us like we were insects. Your attack killed 400 Council citizens," Talus said coldly. "Your mining fleet tried to destroy stations containing 3 million humans," Karen replied just as coldly. "We responded with proportional force after you rejected all attempts at communication. Under any reasonable interpretation, that is self-defense." The negotiations went on for 18 hours straight. The Council representatives argued about procedure, precedent, and protocol. Karen countered with human rights, sovereignty, and the moral failure of ignoring 3 million people because they lived in territory the Council wanted. Finally, Representative Sela spoke up. She was from a species that had fought for Council recognition 600 years ago. "The law is clear, even if we do not like it. The humans established permanent settlements in the belt. Under statute for 4C, we should have verified the territory was uninhabited before claiming it. We did not. The legal fault is ours. Admitting fault sets a dangerous precedent, Kilos argued. Other developing species might become emboldened. Other developing species might have legitimate complaints, Sailor replied. The council was founded to prevent exactly this kind of injustice. When did we become the power that imposed isolation and then attacked those we claimed to protect? The council members began arguing among themselves. Karen let them fight, knowing that every moment of visible division weakened the council's position. Finally, she spoke again. Here's what humanity wants. It is simple. First, immediate recognition as a sovereign power with full council membership rights. Second, reparations for damages to the belt stations and compensation for families of the 700 humans killed in your attack. Third, formal apologies. Fourth, and most important, a guarantee this never happens to any species again. That last demand is beyond our authority, Talus said. Then get the authority, Karen replied. Because if the council will not reform itself, humanity will make it our mission to ensure developing species are never treated this way again. We will find every quarantine system, make contact, and offer them the same information we already broadcast across your networks. You will spend the next century dealing with dozens of species, demanding answers for why they were ignored while you debated procedure. It was a threat, and everyone knew it. The council had maintained order by carefully managing technological development, controlling when and how species joined the galactic community. Humanity was offering to shatter that control. You would destabilize the galaxy, Kilo said. You already did that when you attacked us, Karen answered. We are just offering to make it worse if you do not make it right. Ambassador Talus called for a recess. The council representatives withdrew to debate among themselves. The humans waited in the cargo bay. Jake approached Karen. Do you think they will agree? He asked. They have to, Karen said. The alternative is us becoming the voice for every ignored species in the galaxy. That is their nightmare scenario. And if they call our bluff? Karen smiled without humor. Then it stops being a bluff. We have the probe designs ready. We can reach 40 systems within a month. Every developing species that has been quarantined deserves to know they are not alone. The council returned after 6 hours. Talus looked tired, his crystalline structure somehow dimmer. The council agrees to the following terms, he began. Earth will be recognized as a sovereign power with provisional council membership, subject to standard integration protocols. We will provide reparations totaling 200 billion credits for damages and deaths. Formal apologies will be issued. And we will establish a reform commission to review first contact protocols. Full membership, Karen corrected. Not provisional. And the commission needs enforcement authority, not just review capability. That is not possible, then we return to our ships and start contacting every developing species in this sector, Karen interrupted. You choose. Real reform or chaos. The negotiation stretched into its second day. The council representatives were exhausted and facing political pressure from multiple species, who had seen humanity's broadcast and sympathized. Finally, Talus agreed. Full membership. Enforcement authority for the Reform Commission. But understand this, humans. You are entering a galaxy far more complicated than you imagine. You won recognition through force and political pressure. Now comes the harder part. Actually functioning in a community of 800 species. Karen stood and extended her hand, a human gesture she had explained earlier. We spent 3 centuries learning to govern 38 billion people across 3 planets and dozens of colonies. We are not worried about complicated, Talus hesitated, then reached out his crystalline appendage to touch her hand. First contact, finally, on equal terms. On the Defiant, Jake watched the signing ceremony through a secure feed. Amy stood beside him, shaking her head in disbelief. We actually did it, she said. Earth is part of the galactic community. We forced our way in, Jake corrected. Now we have to prove we deserve to stay. The news reached Earth within hours. President Hayes addressed the United Government from Geneva. Today, humanity achieved what we sought for 300 years. Recognition. We did not get it through patience or by waiting for others to decide we were worthy. We got it by standing up and demanding it, by showing we would defend our people and our rights. This is just the beginning. We are part of the galaxy now, and we will help make it better. Across the solar system, humans celebrated. In the asteroid belt, people gathered in Ceres Station's main plaza and cheered. On Mars, cities lit up with fireworks. On Earth, billions watched the footage of the handshake between Karen and Talus. The moment that changed everything, but in quiet rooms, military commanders and political leaders knew the truth. The hard part was just beginning. Humanity had forced its way into the galaxy. Now they had to navigate 800 different species, countless political factions, and a council that would not forget being embarrassed. The fight for recognition was over. The fight to matter had just begun. 6 months after the negotiations at Proxima Station, Earth opened its first embassy on Council Prime. The ancient station sat at the center of galactic politics. Where the Council had governed for thousands of years, the human embassy was small compared to the massive structures of older species. But its very existence marked a transformation. Humanity had gone from ignored curiosity to full council member in half a year. Ambassador Sarah Palmer stood in the embassy's observation deck, watching ships from hundreds of species move through the chaotic traffic around the station. She was Greg's sister, the administrator who defended Ceres Station. She had been a diplomat on Earth before the war, working in trade negotiations. Now she represented all of humanity to 800 alien species. "We have our first official dispute," her deputy Marcus Webb announced. "The Voron Collective is filing a grievance about the reparations they have to pay." "Of course they are," Sarah said. The Vorons, whose expansion had caused the mining operation that started everything, were forced to pay the largest share of Earth's reparations. They were not happy. "Schedule a meeting. We handle it through proper channels." That was the new reality. Humanity had fought for recognition, but now they had to navigate galactic politics. The Council operated through endless meetings, committee hearings, and diplomatic maneuvering. It was frustratingly slow for a species that had just won everything through quick, decisive action. Back in the solar system, life was changing rapidly. Council trade missions arrived weekly, each representing species eager to establish relationships with humanity. Some wanted to trade. Others wanted human technology, particularly the military innovations that had shocked the Council. Still others simply wanted to understand this aggressive new species that had demanded membership instead of requesting it. Captain Jake Morrison, promoted after the Proxima standoff, now commanded Earth's first contact fleet. It was a task force dedicated to exploring the galaxy and establishing humanity's presence beyond the solar system. The Defiant led a squadron of 20 ships, each packed with scientists, diplomats, and cultural specialists alongside military personnel. Their current mission was the frontier sectors, regions of space where the Council's influence was weak. Dozens of developing species existed there in various stages of isolation. It was exactly what the Council had feared when humanity forced the reforms. "Contact ahead," Lieutenant Amy Wells announced. She was Jake's executive officer now. "Looks like a Council monitoring station." The station orbited a yellow star, similar to Earth's sun. According to Council records, the system contained a developing species that had just achieved nuclear technology. They were scheduled for first contact in another century. Jake studied the planet below through the view screen. Any signs of conflict? Environmental damage? Negative. They appear stable. Population around 2 billion spread across multiple continents. They have not achieved spaceflight yet, but they have satellites in orbit, so they will see us if we visit. "That is against protocol," Amy reminded him. "Council guidelines say we should not contact them for another 100 years. Jake smiled. "The same Council that ignored Earth for 3 centuries and then tried to evict our people from the belt? I think we can question their protocols." He opened a channel to Earth, where the contact committee reviewed all first contact proposals. Secretary Karen Mills, now head of the committee, appeared on screen. "Captain Morrison, I assume you are about to propose something controversial. There is a developing species here. They are stable, peaceful, and starting to explore their own system. The Council wants to keep them isolated for another century. I want to make contact. Karen was quiet for a moment. This is exactly what we told the Council we would do if they did not reform. Are you sure now is the time? The Council's Reform Commission has been studying the issue for 6 months, Jake replied. Meanwhile, species like this one are being kept in isolation not because they are not ready, but because the Council cannot be bothered. We changed the rules for ourselves. We should help change them for others. The Council will see it as aggression. The Council needs to understand that humanity does not accept arbitrary authority anymore. Not for ourselves, and not for others. Karen nodded slowly. Make contact. But Jake, be careful. We are still new to this community. Push too hard, and we might find ourselves isolated again, just in a different way. The Defiant descended toward the planet, broadcasting peaceful intentions on all frequencies the species might monitor. The planet's name, in their own language, was Kellner. Its people called themselves the Helane. The first response came from their planetary government. They had detected the Defiant's approach and scrambled military assets. Primitive aircraft compared to human technology, but impressive for their development level. Jake could see the fear and wonder in their transmissions. Jake broadcast his message personally. People of Kellner, I am Captain Jake Morrison of Earth, representing humanity. We come in peace. We know what it is like to wonder if you are alone in the universe. You are not. There is a community of species among the stars. We are here to tell you about it and to help you join it if you choose. The response took time. Jake imagined the chaos on the planet below. Governments debating, scientists trying to verify the contact was real. Ordinary citizens watching their skies and realizing everything had changed. Finally, Kellner's primary government transmitted a response. We see your ship. We do not understand your technology or your intentions. How do we know? You are peaceful? You do not, Jake replied honestly. Just like we did not know if the first aliens we met would be peaceful. But we are not here to conquer or control. We are here to offer knowledge, friendship, and a warning. There is a galactic government called the Council. They might tell you to wait, to develop in isolation, to stay quiet until they decide you are ready. We are here to tell you that you get to decide when you are ready. Your species, your choice. We will help however we can. Over the following weeks, humanity made its first independent first contact. The Heln were cautious, but curious, much like humans had been 3 centuries ago. Scientists from the Defiant shared carefully selected information about the galaxy. Diplomats explained the Council structure and humanity's recent entry into it. The Heln listened, asked questions, and slowly began to trust. The Council's response was swift and angry. Ambassador Tallis summoned Sarah Palmer to a formal hearing at Council Prime. You violated first contact protocols, Tallis stated. The Heln were scheduled for contact in 97 years after careful preparation. We followed the same protocols you used with us, Sarah replied calmly. We assessed their development, confirmed they were stable, and made peaceful contact. The only difference is we did not make them wait because it was convenient for us. The protocols exist for a reason. First contact is delicate. Species need time to prepare. Earth had 300 years to prepare, Sarah interrupted. We used it well. But we did not need it. We were ready decades before you checked. How many other species are sitting in isolation? Not because they are not ready, but because the Council has not gotten around to them. That is not your decision to make. You're right. It is the Heln's decision. We gave them information and options. They chose to learn more. Are you saying they do not have that right? The hearing lasted hours. Council members argued about humanity's actions. Some supported the contact, seeing it as the logical result of the reforms they had promised. Others viewed it as dangerous precedent that would undermine the careful order the Council maintained. In the end, no sanctions were imposed. The Council could not punish humanity for doing exactly what they had promised to do. Help developing species gain recognition. But the political landscape had shifted. Humanity was no longer the new member seeking acceptance. They were the disruptor, challenging established norms and forcing uncomfortable questions. On Earth, President Hayes addressed the United Government in a speech. BROADCAST across the solar system and 2 humanities embassies across council space. 6 months ago, we forced our way into the galactic community because we had no choice. Today, we made our first independent contact with another developing species. Some say we are moving too fast, pushing too hard. I say we are doing exactly what any moral species should do. We remember what isolation felt like. We remember being ignored. We will not let that happen to others. She paused, looking into the camera. To the people of Earth and all our colonies, this is just the beginning. We joined the galaxy, but we are not content to simply fit in. We are going to change it. We are going to make it better. Not through conquest or control, but by standing up for principles the Council claims to value, but often forgets. Self-determination, dignity, recognition. These are not just human values. They are universal. Speech resonated across human space and beyond. Within weeks, 3 more developing species requested contact with Earth specifically, asking humanity to advocate for them with the Council. The Reform Commission, facing pressure from multiple angles, began accelerating its work. Captain Jake Morrison, completing his mission to Kellner, recorded a message for Earth's historical archives. We started as a species in isolation, wondering if we would ever matter to the galaxy. The Council told us to wait, to stay quiet, to let them decide our future. We refused. We fought for recognition, and we won. But the real fight is not about Earth anymore. It is about making sure no other species has to fight the way we did. It is about building a galaxy where developing civilizations are helped, not ignored. He looked out at the stars through the Defiance viewport. They told us we were not ready. They were wrong. We were ready to challenge them. Ready to change the rules? Ready to make the galaxy answer the question we asked 300 years ago? Why should we stay silent just because it is convenient for you? Earth had stayed silent for 3 centuries. Then the Galactic Council made a fatal mistake. They assumed humanity would continue to obey. They learned otherwise, and the galaxy would never be the same.